Welcome back. If you just joined us, we've been looking at the rescue plan for Nigeria's aviation sector. And our guest on this episode of Question Time is the Director General, Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Mukhtar Usman. Join us again. How do you see the idea of the sinking fund? Is that the right way to go?
Well, that would be very nice to have special funding for aviation where operators can access at a very low interest rate. It will go a long way in assisting the airlines.
So the big issue now, AMCON is taking over not just the weak airlines, the leading airlines in the country. And airline operators are saying that this is a red flag for investors to come into the Nigerian economy, especially in the aviation sector. Do you think this is the right way to go? What is responsible for this?
Well, first of all, let me say that the taking over of those airlines were done in good faith. It is to save those entities from total collapse. And they were not supposed to be liquidated. Services will continue to be rendered, and value will be added to the industry. So it's also a wake-up call for other management of other operators to be alive to their responsibilities, do what is right. We see at the short term, that is you can see the result of the bad management. And that's why government has looked at it and is coming up with this commencement of the establishment of the Aerospace University to address the high-level manpower requirement for the industry in Nigeria.
As a regulator, what's the level of consultation between the NCAA and the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria?
Well, ours is to ensure that it's done properly, safety is not compromised, and also that the entity will continue to operate safely and not be liquidated. So yes, we had contacts, we understood, and they also understood that they are not supposed to just take over and just liquidate, maybe sell off the assets and share whatever it is to the process to whoever is being owed. Also, the idea is for them to take over, put professional management to run the place, inject some funds to ensure that those entities are rescued, and then services will continue to be provided to the industry.
Now let's look at the federal government's policy on repositioning the airline. They are saying that concessioning is the way to go. But in spite of all the resistance coming from different quarters, could you reconcile this? Could you put things in the proper perspective?
Well, maybe I'll start with the airlines. You can see as a lack of corporate governance, because most of the airlines, the management is almost like a one-man business, and that's why they have been collapsing the way they have been collapsing. And going forward, the government has determined, because of the scarcity of funds, the only way is to go through PPP to improve the infrastructure and attract more investment into the country. That is why the idea behind concession of the airports came. Everybody wants to see an airport like Heathrow Airport or those major airports. But we all know if you have to compete for the resources available. Aviation cannot compete with agriculture, security, education, health, and so maybe water resources and so on. So the little we have, we can raise through PPP, and then we'll be able to improve our infrastructures and also take advantage of our natural location in the world, our population, and also the bilateral air service agreements that we have signed with those countries. And that's why the idea of the national carrier is also coming up, which will be private sector driven.
You talked about the idea of national carrier. How far have you gone with this process?
Well, it's the ministry that is driving it, but the procurement process or the process has already started, and a transaction advisor is being appointed because it has to be done transparent. Other concessions maybe didn't succeed because there was lack of transparency. This one is going to be fully transparent, in line with the Procurement Act and other acts establishing the SCRC.
If you're talking about the private-public sector arrangements as a way to go in for the national carrier, how do we address the foreign exchange factor, the harsh economic climate, which is affecting the already existing one, and also, importantly, addressing the challenge of liquidity?
Well, as I mentioned, it's going to be PPP. Government would take a minimum interest in the carrier. It's going to be more of private sector driven.
Let's come to your main purview now, which is airline safety. This is capital intensive. So in this current economy, how do you sustain safety in line with global standard?
Well, of course, there's always challenge, especially when you have to run an industry under recession, the way it is now. But the recession is not going to be for long. Efforts are being put to ensure the economy is put back in the right place, and then everything is going to be all right. Yeah, certainly there are challenges because you know, the foreign exchange regime, the way it is today, is not really in favor of Naira as it is, the purchasing power of people and so on. But as I said, it's not going to be for long.
But we understand that many of the airports lack airfield lighting and also navigational landing aids. So what are you doing to ensure that most of these airports meet up with these requirements?
Well, most certainly we take safety as the first priority in the Civil Aviation Authority. And we carry out inspections to ensure that those facilities that have been made available, the equipment have been fully calibrated in line with the international standards. And for sure, I know provisions have been made in last year's budget and even this current year's proposed budget to ensure that those equipments are put in place, adequately calibrated to increase safety and also capacity.
Let's review the aviation master plan now. Is there enough resources? Is there strong political will to drive this aviation master plan for the country?
Right now, ICAO is helping Nigeria to update that the plan, the roadmap, to ensure it meets the yearnings, you know, where we want to be, and so it's being reviewed as I'm talking to you now.
Before we wind down this conversation, now, what do you make of the idea of the Aviation Development Bank?
As I said, it's a welcome development because one of the challenges is actually accessing funds. You know, funding is one of the issues. If we can get adequate funding at reasonable rate, it will go a long way in helping our airlines grow and compete favorably with the international foreign airlines coming into Nigeria.
The Director General, Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Mukhtar Usman, thank you so much for making our time to be part of this episode of Question Time, and also for giving us the insight into federal government's efforts at repositioning Nigeria's aviation sector. Wish you the very best of luck. Thank you very much indeed. And that's it on this episode of Question Time. You may also send us your comments on our various social media platforms showing on your screen. Many thanks for watching, and join us next week on another fresh episode of Question Time on Channels Television. Many thanks for watching. I'm Gbenga Ashiru. Bye for now.